The guy falls wearily on the pillow, complaining that Lin Hua is too busy, and they obviously won't have time to meet soon. For some reason, his head begins to spin and, opening one eye, Kwe is surprised to find Hong Yi sitting on his bed. He asks her to behave less defiantly, and in response, the girl only smiles playfully. She says she can teach him how to use the force, but in return Lin has to promise her something. He stutters and asks what she wants, completely not knowing what to expect from the demoness. Hong Yi boldly replies that Kwe should promise to marry her. They seem to float in the air. Hong Yi's short dress becomes long and develops across the sky. Hong Yi explains how everything will happen. Kwe will sign a spiritual contract with her, and then they will officially get married. But the guy does not agree to such conditions. It's awkward. He says he can't just marry someone. To begin with, they should take a walk together, go on a few dates, and only then seal the relationship with the bonds of marriage. But the demoness does not agree. She can't take it anymore. Tentacles are torn out of her chest to conduct a bloody contract, which immediately stretch to the chest of the guy. He screams in pain, and the next moment the tentacles are sucked inside him. Blood is their witness. The marriage is concluded. The demoness snuggles up to the disconnected guy and closes her eyes in pleasure. When he finally comes to his senses, he feels how much his head is splitting. The guy suddenly sees, as if someone else's thoughts or someone else's story about how 1,000 years ago demons and gods descended into this world and they killed people. The heroes were defeated from time to time, and so for century after century, until she was reborn. Kwe squints with fatigue. It seems that these are the memories of Hong Yi sleeping on it from the past world. In the morning, CR knocks on his brother's room to call him to breakfast. She apologizes for having to wake up because Kwe was so tired yesterday. But Senior Lin says that nothing terrible has happened. Opening his eyes and sitting up in bed, he discovers that Hong Yi is not there. Shouldn't they have had their wedding night? And she's not. He also asks another question. What happened in her world, and makes a note to ask the demoness about it if the opportunity presents itself. He remembers with a bored look that the year Kwe is leaving for the academy, so it would be nice to start packing. And later say goodbye to CR. In the afternoon, when all the preparations were completed, and the bus was already waiting to take the average Lin to the academy, Zai clung to her older brother's hand and did not want to let go. He awkwardly rubs the back of his head. He's not leaving forever, and they'll see each other on vacation. Kwe understands that he is becoming more and more attached to this baby, but unfortunately, he has never been to the academy, so he cannot take her with him, although he would love to do it. He squats down and puts his hand on the top of CR's head, promising to definitely come back. The girl nods, not too pleased with this answer, but she can't do anything else. Having already boarded the bus, Kwe waves a red rag out of the window and asks his sister to take care of herself. Zai, without taking her eyes off the transport, thinks that it is impossible to wait until Kwe returns. She needs to go after him herself. Arrival at the Kenglin Academy. This place is really gorgeous, but the most important plus for Lin is a lot of beauties. Girls, however, can be admired later. Kwe should report his arrival now. Where is the teacher's room in this place? Meanwhile, there is a loud debate in the hall of applicants of the academy about who will get an outstanding first-year student. The woman puts an end to their dispute, taking the boy for herself, and leans back against the wall, lighting a cigarette. Her colleagues remain dissatisfied with this. Why is she so smug? Is it because her breasts are big? They continue to fight when Lin Kwe arrives. The guy asks how he can be useful. Several male teachers immediately rush at him, who offer him to become their student. One offers for a high-class medicine, another lures at the expense of beautiful students, the third promises a bunch of all sorts of things. They grab Kwe as if everyone is trying to take a piece for themselves. Without tearing Lin apart only by a miracle, they turn on each other. They begin to expose each other's secrets, and in the end it all turns into a fight. Kwe takes this brawl between the teachers for the tradition of the academy. A red-haired woman with a cigarette attracts Kwe's attention. Unlike her colleagues, she calmly offers to become her disciple and first of all calls her name, Tan Lin. While Kwe is sticking to the teacher's chest, she asks not to listen to those old fools who are trying to lure a freshman to their side. Tan Lin notices the guy's interest in himself and decides to take advantage of it. With a seductive look, she tells that she provides the best hostel, and in the future also a special position. You just need to recognize her as your teacher. In all males, blood from the nose from such species begins to flow. Tang Lin has absolutely no conscience. They acknowledge her unconditional victory when Kwe bows low and asks the woman to become her teacher. The teacher kisses her new student on the forehead and asks for a good workout after that. He must not let Tan Ling down. Kwe notes how pleasant her smell is. However, all the beauty and charm of a woman immediately goes away when she becomes like a vixen who promises to bring her worst punishment into action if Kwe dares to disgrace her in the eyes of other teachers. No one notices young Xiao watching them. Lin goes to the dormitories and admires literally everything in this place. The house, the lawn, it's just some kind of paradise. Everything is going just fine. A guy looks out of the window of one of the houses and calls out to Lin. He introduces himself as Zhang Qian, a disciple of Tang Lin, and therefore the senior for Kwe, who will conduct a consultation for the newcomer. Zhang Qian asks to be addressed simply as a fat man without any formal appeals. As Lin notes, the senior student is quite cheerful and smiling. The fat man asks with a smile what his impression of teacher Tang Lin is. She is quite fierce, isn't she? Kwe can't help but reply that this woman is a weapon of mass destruction. Zhang Qian, as if telling some terrible secret, whispers that he definitely also became a disciple after her seduction. Oh, and surely she promised him a position in the future. Kwe nods, surely this is the case. The fat man's face immediately darkens. He was also so fooled once. Qiang, as a person who has suffered a lot, should warn Lin that the teacher has divorced him like a sucker of the last. Lin asks in what sense. Is it really so insidious? But you can't tell by it. The fat man decides not to hide anything from the newcomer, the nickname of the teacher Tin Lin Witch. Qiang asks not to return to this conversation anymore, but still informs finally that the special position promised by the woman in life is a nightmare. Most likely, the new guy won't stand it. After all, Tang Ling's special position is just a bluff, so Kwe has nothing to catch in this quagmire. Let Kwe make sure that the teacher does not fuck him even more. Lin does not seem to believe in the elder's words. However, he will look forward to what may happen in the future. He assures with a malicious face that everything is fine with him, and the fat man, having lost all his complacency and kindness, tells him to do as he knows. Young Xiao is standing in his grandfather's luxurious office and tells about the fact that Lin Kwe has become a disciple of Tang Lin today. A man sitting in an armchair reads papers and does not even turn his head in the direction of his grandson. Xiao complains that wherever you spit, Kwe competes with him everywhere. If this continues, Yang will lose all his authority in the eyes of others. The guy sincerely asks for help from the old man, and he, still not turning in his direction, waves his hand, saying that the grandson cannot worry. He puts a dossier on Lin in front of him and, pointing his finger, promises his grandson to rein in this arrogant kid. Kwe is lying relaxed in a hot tub. He did not think that the hostel would have its own spa. A woman's hand falls on the guy's shoulder and, looking up, he sees Honey leaning over him in a cloud of steam. Your leg, where did it come from here? The demoness moves to the edge of the tub and explains that she is in his spiritual world. The spiritual world is a space created from the spiritual energy hidden inside. Lin's spiritual world, thanks to his huge reserve of hidden energy, is simply gigantic. It's just a pity that his strength is too weak in the aggregate. It will not be possible to use the inner energy to the full. Lin nervously asks that did she sign a marriage contract with him and live in his spiritual world only because of inner energy. Approaching him less than an arm's length away, the girl takes his chin and replies that his assumptions are correct. Her spiritual world has already been destroyed. And you can't accumulate a lot of spiritual energy in the form of a spirit, because after each appearance and battle, Hongyi must replenish her spiritual forces, and Kwe is just perfect for the role of a person whose spiritual forces can replenish her personal reserve. Lin happily grabs her by the shoulders and, for that matter, reminds her about the wedding night. He will give the demoness as much spiritual energy as she wishes. Hongyi calls him a fool with a laugh. They are interrupted by a knock on the door. Kwe swears, why did someone have to come right now? He opens the front door with a loud bang, going out into the street and clarifies, doesn't this someone know that lightning punishes those who interfere with each other? But there is no one outside. Strange, were they really jokers? Movement in the bushes nearby attracts Kwe's attention. He doesn't have time to come up and see how something flies behind him and flies into the room. Running inside after this something, he stumbles upon a yellow ferret, who is standing contentedly on the arm of the sofa. Suddenly, he starts talking about how Kwe was able to dodge his attack, so he can assume that he is not a weakling at all. Besides, in Lin's opinion, does the ferret look more like a man or a saint? Kwe looks at the animal skeptically. This is a talking golden ferret from Legends. They say that at midnight the yellow ferret is looking for people and asking them questions. As a person responds, he will turn into that. But the predator has already taken shape. Why does he need Lin? The ferret, noticing that Kwe has blunted, understands that this is his chance. With a loud cry, he rushes at Lin, opening his mouth with sharp teeth. The eyes are burning red, and the claws on the paws are long, not at all like a real ferret. But before the ferret can fly, it is stopped by the forked sword of Hong Yi. How did such a small rat dare to attack her husband? The ferret falls down, defeated, and Lin stands over him very dissatisfied and says that it was very mean actually. Hong Yi picks up his sword and says that it's just a small yellow ferret, a completely harmless animal that you just need to kill and be done with it. Kwe stops the demoness, calling her beloved, and she immediately forgets about killing the ferret, rejoicing inside how the guy calls her. With a nasty smile on his lips, Lin says that since this ferret has come here, they should have a good time and turn it into something. For example, in food. The ferret is not impressed with the idea. 10 minutes later, he is sitting tied up with a red rope with tears of despair in his eyes. In front of him, the demoness and the guy are talking about how delicious the ferret tastes. But for Lin, he doesn't care if it's delicious or not. It's just not every day you get the opportunity to have dinner with such a rare animal. The ferret almost barks at them. Will these two even spare a little ferret? Lin Yihong looks back at him with disdain. Just a few minutes ago she tried to kill Kwe herself, and now she is dissatisfied with something else. The girl is already wearing a white apron over her usual red dress, and Lin is sitting at the table to prepare it for the meal. The guy approaches him and, towering over a formidable rock, sets a condition. If the ferret does not want to become food, then he must answer why he attacked Lin. Did someone send him? But the ferret remains faithful to his master to the end and does not tell him anything. In this case, Kwe asks Hong to make a fire. Today they have a dish for dinner called ferret on coals. The animal immediately agrees to tell with a growl, and quickly betrays his employer. Yang Guang sent him. Oh, Yang Guang. So this is Yang Zhao's grandfather, a high-ranking elder of the Kanglin Academy. Now Kwe needs to be many times more careful. Such high-ranking officials are going to kill him. The system allows Lin to make a choice in this situation: let go of the ferret, kill the ferret, or become a chef and make delicious dishes from the ferret. This time Lin needs more time to think than always. The first option is a good reward, but if he lets the animal go, there will be too many difficulties. It may be possible to do something differently. Morally, Kwe says that he is compassionate to living beings and therefore will not kill a ferret. He lets the animal go home. Hong behind him calls him in bewilderment, not understanding why he suddenly changed his mind so abruptly. The ferret, almost crying again, does not believe his happiness, even when Lin unties the rope on him. But Lin is sincere in his intentions. He asks the animal to step as soon as possible. Then the animal starts running. Only the heels sparkle. Ferret on the run thank him, calling him a good man. The task turns out to be completed, and Lin is pleased to receive a reward, a bone marrow cleansing pill. The item has already been added to the inventory. The task, as Kwe expected, really turns out to be counted, so you can stop pretending to be a good guy. The furry ferret is going to escape from this den of demons as soon as possible, still crying either from the fear he experienced or from happiness. Kwe gets up to him from behind and asks in a sweet voice where this cutie is going. Wanted to escape. It won't work. The ferret, with the hair standing out, then freezes. Slowly turning around, he, trembling all over, asks if it wasn't Kwe who just let him go on all four sides. Now he has no faith. Smiling, Lin informs that he first let him go and then changed his mind. And now get into the frying pan. After some time, the ferret lies tied up with ribbons and passed out from fright. Hong Yi succinctly asks if her husband will eat the ferret now. But of course Lin won't do that. He has a better idea. In his hands, Kwe is already holding a collar with spikes. The next day, the animal wakes up, tied with a chain to a collar with a bell and spikes. He lived more than half of his life, and some kid made a guard dog out of him. That won't do, he cries, asking for help from at least someone. Lin sleeps sweetly on a wide bed with Hong Yi. Yesterday, after taking the bone-washing pill he received as a reward, Kwe's temperature rose and he successfully passed out. Then Hong Yi took care of him, protected him all night. Still, there are advantages to having such a wife. He reaches for the blanket that covers the demoness's naked body, but she wakes up before Kwe has time to carry out her plans. Lin immediately pulls his hand back, while Hong Yi stretches. Why is Kwe so afraid of her? It's so weird. The girl notices that today the guy slept more soundly than usual. And really, apparently, this is the effect of the pill. Lin jumps up to the full-length mirror and starts spinning in front of it, trying to find visible changes. His body is overflowing with power. It's so cool. The girl, still sitting on the bed, says that although she does not know where her husband got the pill that cleanses the bones, however, she should warn him that it is too early to rejoice. But Kwe doesn't listen to her, he's fine. The girl, however, continues to insist the remedy that Lin took can really increase strength. But with his current body, the guy will not be able to completely swallow it. This time she helped him to restrain the power of the pill so that her husband would not suffer from pain. If Lin wants to fully absorb the power, then he will have to strengthen the body to S rank. Then Kwe will be able to constantly cleanse the muscles and bones. Lin clings to the words that he will be able to clean his bones all the time. Does she know how Kwe can do this? Lin immediately suggests cultivating together, but Hong-yi arrogantly turns away and offensively asks who does he take her for. Lin is displeased that she has found the time to build a touchy. Kwe gently grabs her from behind and pours that she is like milk tea for him, which the guy wants to squeeze in his hands every day. The girl blushes from this attitude. She gets out of bed and, instructively raising her index finger, agrees to tell how. The way to hone the washing of muscles and bones as soon as possible is to constantly receive physical pain. When Lin asks again, obviously not wanting to believe in such a way, the girl turns to him with a happy smile and says that, simply put, to be beaten by Lin. Later, Kwe comes to the welcome ceremony in honor of the freshmen. There is a request for students to go out on the field. Lin is still thinking about what Hong-yi told him. He doesn't know whether to trust her method. After all, the idea sounds so-so. The fat man greets the freshman with a question about why he is so gloomy. Today is the welcome ceremony. Kwe awkwardly rubs the back of his head and justifies himself by saying that he just has too much attention because of beauty. This is actually the case. As soon as Lin passes by, most girls immediately turn their eyes to him and note that the guy is really handsome. However, male students have a different opinion. Well, handsome, so what? A pretty face is not enough to stay in this academy. Some particularly brave girl offers Kwe milk, but he refuses, saying that he is not hungry. He is very pleased to be the center of attention, but he decides that he will pretend to be a nice prince, which no one in this academy can reach even in the next life. Lin meets teacher Tang and greets her with a wave of her hand. She introduces him to his elders, Murong Qingyu, a girl in a black dress, and Hu Tang, a guy in a vest over his naked body. Su Tang is also standing here. She is also from their group, and since she was an examiner for beginners, they most likely have already met. Su Tang complains that it was Lin Kwe who was late on his first day of school. The guy does not miss the opportunity to tease the girl. He says that in the few days that they did not see each other, she managed to get a very prettier figure. Su Tan yells at him for such shamelessness, and he just continues. Lin knows exactly what he's talking about, because when they last snuggled up to each other, Kwe does not have time to finish, as Su Tang kicks the guy backhand, but he manages to dodge, and even when she attacks for the second time, he still remains out of reach. Murong asks his girlfriend to calm down. This guy is his own enemy, but Su Tan continues to throw mud at him. The guy dodges her blow, as if dancing, and at some point faces teacher Tang's chest. She notes that he fights pretty well. Tan Lin, looking at the sheet, says that she managed to find out a little about Lin. She had no idea that he was Ling Yuan's son. The fat man behind him opens his mouth in shock. Did he hear her say Lin Yuan? Kwe turns out to be his idol's son. Here Hu Tang joins the conversation. He remembers that Ling Yuan was the strongest man of Kanglan City in the past. It turns out that Kwe comes from the family of the strongest hero. All the fun falls off with Kwe. He never thought that so many people knew about his adoptive father, especially considering that even the guy, like his adopted son, had vague memories of his father. A disgruntled Juniao is standing nearby. Her old acquaintance looks much stronger than before. What methods does the witch of the 7th group Tang Lin use, since she was able to pump him so quickly? The evil Yang Xiao is also there. The yellow ferret sent by his grandfather has not yet returned, and Lin Kwe looks fine. It can be seen that his plan for a hidden attack has completely failed. Students are lined up in columns in front of the leadership of the academy, sitting at the table. An old man with long gray hair and a very unpleasant face greets freshmen. He introduces himself as the Deputy Academy Director of the Kanglan Xuanyang Academy. He is glad to see everyone at today's ceremony. He believes that everyone came here with the hope of becoming the strongest, so the Kanglan Academy will look forward to their future achievements. Next, first-year students who have performed well should come on stage to present their personal Kanglan emblems and an introductory speech. Kwe perplexedly asks the fat man what kind of emblem is this. He explains, the Kanglin emblem is a special award given by the Academy to outstanding first-year students. It is also a kind of student card for all events held at the Academy. At the same time, the emblem is a spatial storage, which is a very useful thing. Lin is surprised that there are such treasures in the Academy. The fat man shows his emblem. Kwe laughs that a hicka like him used to be an outstanding freshman. Looks can be deceiving. Zhang Qiang is discontentedly interested in whether the newcomer has at least some manners. But Kwe just said what he thought. The first outstanding student to take the stage is Chu Junyao. She puts the emblem to her chest and gives a speech in which she thanks the Academy for this award. She promises not to let down their expectations. Lin laughs that she really started making a speech. Next comes the freshman of the second group, Yang Xiao. He, in turn, says that he will fight for the title of the strongest in the Kanglin Academy, so that teachers can be proud of him. Kwe looks at all this with round eyes. But Yang Xiao's performance in the second stage of the entrance exams is quite mediocre, since he turned out to be an outstanding freshman. Even in such an outstanding educational institution, everything is done by the thug. Let them just wait for Lin to come out. He will show you how to make a welcoming speech. Finally, it's Kwe's turn. The system gives 3 options for the development of events. 1. To make an official speech, where you need to belittle yourself a little in order to become exalted afterwards. Reward, +5 to dexterity. 2. Make a bold speech, to make it clear to all the teachers of the Academy who the daddy is here. Reward, +5 to strength. 3. Make a positive speech. Feelings should touch the hearts of listeners. Reward, +5 to charm. This is the first time that charm points have appeared among the awards. Can Kwe attract even more attention to himself than he already has? In truth, he, as a good young man and a future hero, whom everyone will love, should choose the first. But he wants to become charming and get a good beating later, because the muscles and bones will not be cleaned by themselves. So Lin chooses the third. Unlike the others, the guy does not press the emblem to his chest. He pulls it forward, as if distancing it from himself, and loudly declares that although Kwe is happy to accept the title of outstanding student, Lin is the last person who should have been awarded this emblem. Junyao, standing in the crowd, asks what the hell he's talking about. Meanwhile, Kwe does not think to stop. With tears in his eyes, he calls himself only a worthless weakling without a drop of strength. But, even considering all this, the Academy honors him with such a generous honor not to accept such a scum like him, but also to award him the title of an outstanding student. Kwe can't help but feel the greatness of the Academy. He bows low and thanks everyone for the condescension shown to him, then brings thanks to the Academy. Lin will work hard not only to become stronger himself, but also to be a pillar for the Academy. Lin's words quickly had an effect. They begin to admire him with renewed vigor, and even the eternally angry at Kwe Junyao begins to think that she was mistaken about him all this time. Only Yang Xiao does not touch the charm of a newcomer like him. The guy is wildly angry that this scum appropriated all his regalia to himself and didn't even blush. When the reward is credited to the account, it's time for the second part. With a nasty giggle, Kwe immediately refutes all of the above. He stretches out his thumb in front of him, let down, and calls all those gathered here not the most unpleasant words. The seventh group, which includes Lin, reacts differently to words. Teacher Tang is at a loss. Su Tang is infernally angry. Zhang Qiang just doesn't seem to be too impressed by what he said. Hu Tang standing behind him arches his thick eyebrows with displeasure, and only Murong will affect, absolutely regardless of what is happening. Lin starts almost dancing on stage. Here he is, Lin Kwe, standing in front of you. Who is too envious or envious? Let him come up and try to hit him. The guy's plan turns out to be successfully executed. The students must vent all their anger on him. Let them beat him. Then he will be able to learn the method of cleansing muscles and bones faster. Kwe jumps off the stage, and the deputy director declares the ceremony over. Everyone must leave the field. The students are already beginning to gather around the cheeky newcomer, but then something happens that Kwe did not foresee at all. The elders, the fat man and Hu Tang, intercede for him, asking him to forgive the freshman this time. Then Lin proceeds to desperate actions, begins to throw mud at the elders. They immediately react to insults. They turn around with angry faces and are clearly going to be the first to stuff a new face. While the elders beat Lin, who cheers them on, saying how weak they are, Junyao shakes his head. Only the grave will fix this guy. Yang Xiao remains satisfied with the current situation. Apparently, he won't even have to do anything. Murong was not mistaken in her conclusions when she said that Lin was his own enemy. Tang Ling thinks that even though this guy is a complete psycho, he still resembles Ling Yuan. But he let himself be beaten too easily. Apparently, he needs it for some reason. Standing on the dais, Lin asks to hit himself. Doesn't anyone want to? But it seems that this is exactly the case. After all, most students just go through fibroids, even without looking at it. When even praising himself doesn't help, Kwe sits down in frustration and covers his face with his hand. Hovering in the air with an umbrella in her hand, Hong Yi, who is not visible to anyone except her husband, offers to go back and come another day. He doesn't agree. He can't leave everything like that. Kwe must absorb all the power of the bone-washing pill and obtain an S-rank body. And for this, as you know, there is no faster way than to be beaten. He is not going to give up. The sun is still high. The evening is far away. There is time. The demoness looks at this and does not remain very enthusiastic about this behavior. Guys passing by just want to break into the new guy, because he's been asking for it since the morning. Freaking simple. Already in the evening, Lin is sitting and sad that such terrible times have gone. There is no one to beg for even punches. A passing student asks what the point is. Before Lin has time to reply, the stranger gives a hint on how to get the wrath of the academy on himself. To confess his love to Mo Qingcheng, one of the 4 beauties of this educational institution. Lin gets excited. Since she is one of the 4 beauties, then she must have a lot of fans. If Lin admits, then he will definitely be chased by a crowd of this girl's henchmen. Han Yi's face is distorted with anger from such a sentence. The man said, the man did. Kwe immediately writes a message to the academy's public, in which he declares Mo Qingcheng his waifu. Anyone dissatisfied with this fact can talk to Kwe on the square, and then presses send. The demoness's skin turns red, and her body shivers with jealousy, but she tries to keep herself in control, calming him by saying that he is only pretending. Lin is happy to announce that they have taken a bite, and the demoness leans over the phone screen with interest. And in the public there were already those who promised to come to the soul of Kwe immediately. He's just garbage. How dare he think so much about himself? Before 10 minutes have passed, a whole crowd of dissatisfied people comes running with angry shouts. Some of them have bats, others have sticks or machine guns, and they are all ready to stand up for the honor of their goddess. Lin, having examined them closer, immediately gets scared. There are too many of them. How did he make such a mistake? Hong Yi decides to hide from this crowd and return to the spiritual world, saying that since his beloved has decided to train, then let him do it as hard as possible. Meanwhile, some girl sitting in the classroom remembers the face, because he is the first one who dared to openly tell her about his feelings. Lin is still being beaten up, even though it's for a good cause, but it hurts him. He's going to die like that. The offenders note that the guy is a strong guy and promise to teach the impudent man a good lesson. They are interrupted by Tan Lin, who has risen to the defense of her student. She asks with a shout if he is overdoing it, and how dare anyone bully her ward. Her appearance makes Mo Qingcheng's admirers fade away, and after the woman gives them a few seconds to get away, they run away altogether. Tang Ling turns to look at Kwe lying on the ground. He's deliberately looking for death, isn't he? What kind of training method is this? The guy laughs awkwardly and asks if she has anything to do with him, since she appeared so suddenly. The teacher, however, came to tell about a mere trifle. Tomorrow a spiritual spring will open at the academy. Lin wonders if this is a place that was left behind by some great master. Tang Ling explains that when the world's spiritual energy was revived, countless traces of energy were discovered all over the earth. The spiritual source is one of them. You can imagine that this is a hot spring with spiritual power that can help you become stronger. During these 2 days, the newcomer should concentrate on stabilizing his strength. After all, there will be other participants who will fight for the opportunity to visit the source. This place will only be open for a limited amount of time. Even for a person like Tang Lin, it was not easy to knock out the opportunity for Kwe to visit this spring, so it will be a body to work out. And do not forget about gratitude. The student is not averse to thanking his teacher. After all, she is a real beauty. She asks him to follow her, as the time has come for the fulfillment of the promise of a special position. Kwe is bleeding from joy, and that fat man Zhang Qiang assured him that it didn't mean anything good. Trying to scare a privileged youth like Lin Kwe. Right now, he definitely won't back down like the last coward. Noon on the mountain behind the academy. A huge ball of earth rolls down the slope, and running away from him, Kwe asks if his special position looks like this. He doesn't like it at all. Sitting on a stool with a glass of red wine, Tang Lin advises him to speed up, otherwise he will die prematurely. As a result, the special situation turned out to be actually a hidden diabolical test. After the first workout has been finished, it's time for the second one. Kwe needs to do push-ups with the teacher sitting on him, who says that there is only 1,000 times left. The elders, watching the torment of the newcomer from the side, just laugh. Then the next test. Hui is sitting on a slippery rock under a waterfall stream, entwined with a vine with thorns, and the teacher whips him on the back with the same vine. There's only half an hour left. It seems Tan Lin is genuinely enjoying what is happening. A little more, and at this rate, Hui will definitely ascend. This is all unbearable. Then the guy stands on a raised platform, which is blown by strong winds, and there is a trampoline at the bottom, on which he must jump. Tang Lin encourages his student, let little Hui not be afraid of anything and be brave. If this continues, then Lin's death cannot be avoided. In the evening he lies on the ground without any signs of life. Tan Lin is sitting next to her, to whom the student complains that he neither ate nor rested all day. The woman generously gives a break of a couple of minutes. During this break, they can just talk about Father Hui Yuan. Even though they are related, however, he doesn't know anything about his ancestors' past, does he? The woman lights a cigarette. Without opening his eyes, he says that it is so. When my father was alive, he didn't tell me much. Lin found out about many things from third parties. The woman sadly realizes that this boy does not even half realize how great a man his father was. 10 years ago, an army of demons invaded Kanglin. They committed outrages, spared no one, slaughtered countless civilians. Humanity was on the verge of extinction. Hui's father, Lin Yuan, fearlessly opposed them and defended the city with his base-large squad. Once Tang Lin was a member of this squad, he was lucky enough to fight side by side with Yuan. They fought for the future of humanity, not sparing themselves. Unfortunately for humans, the enemy had S-class demons. After many battles, the squad finally repelled the monster's attack. However, Father Hui and the rest of the participants of Basilar J put their heads on the altar of victory. Although Lin is only a hitman, however, he realizes what an honor it is to be the son of such a great man. After arriving in this world, he quickly forgot what a comfortable life was. People here do not live in peacetime, they are only in a peaceful place. The price for such a fragile peace was the lives of my father and other members of the squad. After Yuan's death, Lin Hua joined the Superpowers Department and continued to fight and kill demons, protecting the city from the shadows. Hui makes a decision. He came to this world to protect it. Now he is ready to continue training. In Yang Guang's office, freshman Mu He promises to fulfill the mission assigned to him, to get rid of Lin Hui. The old man gives him 1,000 spiritual stones. We must not make mistakes in this matter. In the morning, Hui runs away from home, telling his wife on the go that he is going to a spiritual spring today. Maybe in the evening they will have an opportunity for pair cultivation. Thanks to the help of the demoness and teacher Tang, as well as the effect of the pill, Hui will soon develop his body to S rank. He passes by a sleeping ferret and sarcastically asks if he really didn't like the bone, or has he decided to go on a hunger strike. The ferret declares that he would rather starve to death than take something from this man. What about the piece of fried chicken that Lin is holding in her hands? But the ferret categorically refuses to do this either. However, for the sake of such a tasty morsel, you can sacrifice your own principles. He immediately grabs food. It's not that tasty, let Hui not triumph. The ferret generously warns Lin to be careful in the coming days. Knowing Yang Guang, he will not leave such an outburst just like that. The place of today's cultivation is a spiritual source. Lin would never have thought that such a natural place adjoins the city. Tang Lin talks about the 500 spiritual stones hidden in the emblem, which will be useful for a spiritual source. She asks you to use them wisely. Once they get to the spiritual source, students need to throw spiritual stones into it and then they will be able to release more spiritual power. Hui asks the fat man what kind of spiritual stones are these. Spiritual stones are a type of natural stones containing spiritual energy. It can be used as a consumable that restores spiritual energy or as a currency. The source is declared open. Tang Lin asks little Hui to come back as soon as possible, while she will wait for him here. When the students enter, Zhang Qiang immediately leaves the newcomer alone. He runs after the girls, whom he wants to help find a place. What a bastard. I couldn't even tell which source is better to occupy. Besides the 7th group, Yang Xiao is also here. For Lin, the show intuition begins. He has no idea where to go. Opening the door to the nearest spring, the guy stumbles upon bathing girls, who immediately blush, but do not try to expel. They recognize him. It's the same Lin Hui, the one who confessed his love to the girl. It turns out to be Mo Qingcheng. The system gives you a choice: run through the girls with your eyes and leave, jump into their spring and arrange an aquatiscotco, or beg the girls for forgiveness. Well, since everything turned out this way, then explanations of the current situation are not required. Girls can understand as they want. Lin chose the second one, aquatiscotca, and jumps to the girls with a bomb. However, he very quickly flies out of their baths. Some guy passing by realizes that Lena has just been kicked out of Mo King Cheng's room, which means he saw her naked. He's definitely screwed. Although it was difficult for Lin, however, he found a small source. He sinks into the water and enjoys life. And then Hongyi appears in front of him, who asks that is it really not enough for her husband. She gently strokes his chin. The demoness calls him a scoundrel and bites him in the shoulder, and the guy immediately chokes with a scream. He didn't think she was so jealous. The wall behind him is shaken by a powerful explosion, which forms a large hole in it. The guy who came in asks how he dared to defile Mrs. Mo. Lin recognizes him. This is the same person who communicated with Yang Xiao today. The guy promises Kui a speedy death and attacks with a clawed paw. But it turns out to be easy for Lin to dodge. However, the stranger's hand breaks the source and forms a black hole. There is something under the source, and it pulls them inside. Lin manages to grab the edge, but is pulled down by a guy who holds Kui firmly by the ankle. They fall together and Hongyi rushes down after her husband.